On April 25th, Governor Jay Inslee signed House Bill 1240, a piece of legislation that bans semi-automatic weapons like this one, along with 67 other guns and 10 accessories.
Yeah, it's going to hurt us. It's just a matter of how bad.
Talos Tactical, now the last gun-only retailer in the area, and they're taking a 20% hit on revenue from those outlawed items as they sell them out of state.
Basically, we work all day long and we break even. We pay our bills, we're good, but we're working just for the fun of the game right now. There is no profit in this industry.
These hits coming in the wake of 7 years of gun legislation efforts, stemming from the 2016 Mukilteo shooting.
We have introduced a bill every year since then.
Trying to raise the minimum purchasing age in 2018, Initiative 1639 in 2019, and this year House Bill 1143, updating requirements to buy or transfer a firearm, and House Bill 1240, that's causing a shakeup for gun stores.
Industry leaders like KEPR, they might be able to survive a hit like this because they sell so many other products. But these small gun stores, I don't see how they get through this. 2 stores in the Tri-Cities have already closed. Columbia Gun Rack after the magazine ban last year, and Hole in the Wall stopped selling guns this summer. The law suppressing the sale of firearms that, according to the ATF, made up nearly 30% of manufactured firearms in 2021.
In terms of the amount of inventory we carry and probably volume of sales, I would say close to half. I mean, definitely a third.
Tri-Cities Representative Stephanie Barnard adds the reach of the bill goes farther than just the local gun store's revenue.
What we're doing is we're putting our state, the state of Washington, at a great disadvantage.
She says the law will make it harder for the state to compete with others in the region, pointing to reduced opportunities for conventions, gun shows, and vendors.
We're hoping that we can compensate at least partially.
Matt Schessler hopes Talos Tactical can weather the storm. In the weeks leading up to the governor's pen, a proactive approach, keeping 2 to 3 times as much inventory for the uptick in purchases.
If you're buying a bunch of inventory knowing a law is coming to change, that is a bit of a, as any small business, that's a bit of a gamble that you're willing to take.
I think that's pretty harsh, and I don't think that if it was applied to any other industry, it would be tolerated.
Mukilteo Representative Strom Peterson says a buyback program was floated.
When some folks started maybe crunching some numbers, it was going to be a pretty expensive, pretty big price tag.
A late addition to the bill, the 90-day grace period, allowing stores to sell their inventory to out-of-state dealers. As of late July, those guns and accessories are off the market in the Evergreen State. But not just assault rifles, allowed handguns and shotguns also saw some cuts.
If it has a threaded barrel, it's no longer Washington legal.
Those guns caught in the crossfire of the bill. Peterson says the legislation was written with lessons learned.
What happened with the federal ban back in the 90s, gun manufacturers just tweaked some things and still manufactured some weapons that were very, very similar but weren't on the list. So we wanted to make sure that we were including the accessories that make this type of weapon that much more dangerous.
With the yearly passage of new gun laws, store owners and gun enthusiasts are asking, when is enough?
And there's never an answer.
Mukilteo Representative Strom Peterson, a Second Amendment supporter who led the charge on House Bill 1240, says we're pretty close to enough.
Well, I believe we've hit the balance with the type of weapon that will really reduce these mass shootings.
He says there may be some tightening around the edges in terms of training and education, but no big bills are in the pipeline. Tri-Cities Representative Stephanie Barnard, however, would like a chance to revisit the law, calling the language unclear.
There will be a lot of misunderstanding. A lot of shop owners that think they're in compliance but really aren't.
Representative Barnard says the focus should be on mental health as opposed to gun bans, saying she'd be for a state-supported mental health care facility.
Take somebody in and give them the help they need, and that's not just a one and done, but sustainably over time. That's what's really going to make the difference in the Tri-Cities. That's what's really going to help our community become more safe.
Already on the table, according to Peterson. He says crisis centers are in the works that would not only be a safe place, but also connect folks to resources.
We are investing record amounts of dollars into behavioral and mental health. Hundreds of millions of dollars that has not been invested in this country in the last 40 years.
How do you get people to take that option instead of, putting them in cuffs and throwing them in the back of a police car, taking them to jail? How do you convince them in those moments where they're having these issues or these incidents? How do you convince them to go to the treatment?
We've done a lot of work on involuntary treatment, and it's hard. You as an individual, you have your rights. And if you don't want to go to treatment, that just might be the case.
Peterson says a process is in place making it easier for family members and law enforcement to get someone into mental health treatment. along with helping police agencies expand their investments for mental health professionals.
We know that there are certain people that really need that support, that kind of push.
But at the end of the day, criminals will still get guns, says Taylor's Tactical owner Matt Schessler, adding gun violence will still happen, pointing to a stack of rejections going back 10 years of background checks.
These are people that just should not, by state and federal law, be in the same place at the same time as a firearm. And in 10 years, we had one investigated.
In an 8-year period starting in 2008, out of more than 51 million firearm purchases, 556,500 were denied by the FBI. The ATF formally referred 509 of those for possible prosecution. In the end, only 254 were considered. That's less than a 1 in 2,000 chance of being prosecuted as a result of a denial.
The problem is these people can then just drive across town and switch a couple numbers around and hope for a different result. You know, these are people that we know shouldn't have a gun and are actively trying to get a firearm.
He says following up on these attempts should be where the efforts to reduce gun violence start, something Representative Barnard says she will focus on by
making it more effective, easier to access, easier to utilize, a little more clarity, a little more collaboration. And I think if we did that and did a better job of it, that would solve most of our problems.
Now, Peterson knows HB1240 is no silver bullet. Criminals will still get guns, but
States that have enacted laws such as this, their rate of death by gun is significantly lower.
in the meantime, the issue is in the courts. 2 requests to block the law were rejected, one by a U.S. Circuit Court judge, another by a Thurston County Superior Court judge. So with nothing in the pipeline and no plans to revisit the bill, this may be the new status quo for Washingtonians. In Tri-Cities, Dave Furtado, KEPR Action News.